Good morning, and thanks so much for tuning into the trade setup. I'm Neeraj Shah. Let's take stock of the global news flow and then what the world markets are up to try and figure out what we might do. Summers warns that the soft landing chances are only 1 into 3, and therefore that puts stocks at risk as per popular opinion. US consumer prices, the CPI data jumps, straining household budgets even more. Remember, the expectation was zero point 0.2, which was the number that they clocked in for 2 months on a trot. The number is coming at zero point 0.3, much higher than what was estimated, but in line with what the BOFA's Asia FX head, who spoke to us 2 days back, had mentioned. US stock futures now are little changed as US eyes the WPI inflation data now, likely to come out today. Oil is advanced as IA added to the chorus of views on tighter outlook. And surging rice prices batter bonds in major importer Philippines. But the idea of pointing out this news is not about Filipino bonds, but more about that rice prices across the world are surging. So Asia has a problem of higher crude prices and higher commodity prices, both of which lead to inflationary pressures. And that is something that people should be mindful of. That Asian markets, by and large, which were looking at the peak rate or peak interest rate phenomenon, are no longer looking at that. They're looking at inflation yet again, and that's a bit of a headwind to stocks per se. Okay, now what happened to US markets? Well, the inflation data wasn't what was anticipated, but the US markets, I would say, fared okay. I mean, the Dow 0.2% lower, the other markets flat, marginally in the green, no big changes, which is a good sign. The other cues will come up on your screen as of 7:30 a.m. this morning. Yields haven't reacted at all. If anything, they were lower from where they were yesterday at 4.23. Volatility is flattish. Dollar index is steady, so no big changes there. We had a big move yesterday. I wonder what the GIFT Nifty is indicating today. It's not necessarily the most reliable indicator, if you will, but for now, a flattish start anticipated. Now, what happened yesterday was interesting, right, viewers? Considering what had happened day before yesterday, one would have thought that the day would be sluggish and mid caps and small caps would buckle down. We didn't quite see that happening. Yes, in the first 1 hour, yes, it was a problem. But what happened was very interesting. The Nifty 50 increased by 38 basis points, or 38 points rather. Bank Nifty increased by 0.87%. Top gainers like BOB and PNB, and that which is a result of which, as a result of which, the Nifty PSU Bank Index was 4.23% higher, followed by Nifty Energy, which was about a percent higher as well, and the Bank Nifty then followed suit. So, very strong day of trade yesterday, you have to admit, relative to what would have been anticipated by everybody, probably including me as well. I mean, I didn't think that the mid caps and the small caps will see any kind of immediacy in terms of pullback. Remember, yesterday we talked on the trade setup that the large caps were not that worried day before yesterday also, but the broader markets might have 2 3 days of a impact. We didn't quite see that, and that's quite stunning, really. Just and that's the trade setup, because it yesterday was an encouraging day of trade for the bulls for sure, and I think it negates the possibility of leverage shorts almost immediately. So if people thought that they could actually go, I was asked a lot of questions day before yesterday, right? That can we open leverage shorts because of what's happened, etc., etc. I think yesterday's price action puts the fear of losses in the hearts of the bears, or who wanted to take some short trade possibilities, because it is that good a move yesterday. I don't think too many people anticipated this. And yes, certain pockets like railways, etc., were soft and continue to remain, but a bunch of others did really well for themselves, which is actually a really good sign. The quantum of multi-asset mutual fund launches probably shows that domestic institutions are wanting to spread the risk now across the asset classes and not be only equity focused. And that's why these launches, that if not now, then in the next 1 month, 2 months, you want to start spreading, simply because of the kind of heady levels that equities are trading at. But the trade action is very strong. The sharp bounce in PSU banks, for example, is indicative that buyers are very keen for a buy on dip strategy. Look at what happened to PSU banks yesterday. We'll get the table up, and the price action. Yes, the volume action was not necessarily, the delivery percentages were not necessarily that strong, but the price action was very commendable. Sure, and SBI rallied only 1.5%, but BOB 4.33%, delivery percentage is about 36. PNB 8.5%, 28% mark for delivery. For that kind of volume, it's probably not bad. Sure, Canara Bank, IOB, the slightly lesser favorite PSUs as opposed to SBI, BOB, and PNB didn't have the best delivery percentages, but the price jump was very strong, and I think that shows the kind of interest that exists in some of these stocks. There is an IPO that opens today. Zaggle Prepaid Ocean Shows. Actually, two. There's Sami Hotels and Zaggle, but Zaggle in particular, because it's fresh IPO opening to raising 392 crores in the price band of 156 to 164, and has raised 253 crore from anchor investors. Analysts tell me that might be an interesting one to monitor and subscribe to. Do your own checks, but this seems to be an interesting one. So do watch out for these. Then there are a bunch of viewer queries. We'll get to them at the end of the trade setup. Please allow me to finish the stocks to watch list first. Price volume buzzers, Indiabulls Housing Finance. I'm talking about the liquid names here. So Indiabulls Housing Finance, 12% higher, 4 times the volumes. PNB, 8.5% higher, 3 times the volumes. Glenmark, 6% higher, 3.5 times the volumes. RT Industries, 5.6% higher, 1.85 times the volumes, and India Cements 5.3% higher, 1.53 times the volumes. So watch out for some of these price volume buzzers. Adani Enterprises, Adani Wins 5.2 megawatt wind turbine generator has received type certification from WindGuard GmbH. Watch out for that one. Standard disclaimer, Adani Enterprises, part of the Adani Group, the flagship of the Adani Group, and Adani Group via AMG Media Networks owns 49% stake in Quintillion Business Media, and has entered into the MOU to acquire the balance as well. So just wanted to lay that out. Bombay Dyeing could react. The board has approved the proposal to sell the land parcel of 22 acres in Worli in Mumbai to Goisu Realty in 2 phases. This is essentially the Sumitomo company. The total consideration is 5,200 crores, and the current market cap of Bombay Dyeing is around 2,900 crores. Suffice to say, the stock will react. KC International. Remember, by the way, I must make a mention here that about 4 days ago or 5 days ago, I had pointed this out because Times of India had done a front page story on this thing. A very senior, reputed real estate journalist had done the story, so I thought that it was worth mentioning. So we had spoken about this 4 or 5 days earlier when the news report came out. The stock didn't react too much then. I do think that because it's an official declaration that the stock may react today, but I'm just saying it out there. I mentioned this 5 days back simply because it was a Times of India story saying that it's media reports. So just bear that in mind. KC International is the other one. It's gotten a $139 million order for Saudi power transmission project. It won a small order day before yesterday. And yesterday the stock was very active. I was surprised as to why so on a 120 crore order win. Now I get to know that it's also probably on account of preempting something like this. So watch out for this one. May not react as strongly today, but it may well. But I think that it will not react as strongly as it could because a bit of price action happened yesterday. Bajaj Healthcare has received an EIR from US FDA for pre-approval inspection at its Vadodara plant with 0 Form 483 observations. Watch out for this one. Watch out for KPI Green Energy's commission a wind solar hybrid power project comprising 4.2 megawatt wind through the company and 3.6 solar capacity through the wholly owned subsidiary KPIG Energia for Monosteel India. Well, a lot of companies are doing a lot of interesting stuff here. Do watch out. And EV auto part makers. This news came out during market hours. I'm just laying it out that apparently Tesla is planning to source as much as $1.9 billion worth of auto components from the nation this year, as per the government. Last year, Tesla had bought parts for about $1 billion. So who knows? Maybe some of the auto part makers could be in focus as well. Now, what am I missing? Some brokerage notes. Let me try and mention a few. So DAM Capital has come out with a note on the sugar sector. They say, initiating coverage, they say they believe that sugar is in a sweet spot with a bunch of triggers. And the transformation and the fact that it continues to now being not just a sugar manufacturers, but also multiple other things, including ethanol. They're, in a nutshell, they're Balrampur Chini, the target price is 510 versus the current price of 416. Triveni, the target price is 415 versus the current price of 355. Dalmia Bharat 540 versus the current price of 426. Uh, and Dwarikesh Sugar 93, target price is 120, which is a potential uptick of 29% from the current market price. So that's their view. Watch out for that. Jeffries has a note on Concor. They have raised the target price. They believe that the dedicated freight corridor uh, is seeing traction. Road to rail cargo shift is seeing traction, and the DFC is also a trigger. They believe Concor will start to regain lost market share as the DFC network presence pays off. It's a buy, of course. They've raised the target price to 825 from 775 with a potential upside of 18%. So do watch out for that one as well. Have I missed anything? That's the key question. Um, Data Patterns, Investec has a target price of 3,000, so watch out for that one. And Lloyd Steel has signed an agreement with BARC. Do watch out for that one as well. What else? Have I missed anything? I'm sure I have, but I'm just trying to bring it out. Uh, yeah, I mean, SUN, right? DSP Mutual Fund added about 20 lakh shares yesterday, and CCA has approved the Advent takeover. I think it came out during market hours, this announcement, SUN, but maybe the official announcement came out post market hours, so maybe the stock still reacts. So do watch out for that. Yeah, a clutch of names out there. Just keep an eye out on most of these Bajaj Healthcare, Bombay Dyeing, Suven Life, some very, very interesting names out there. A clutch of very interesting conversations today lined up on BQ Prime as well. So you will hear from Prateek Agarwal of Motilal Oswal at 10 a.m. On Talking Point. Long form investor, so it might be interesting to hear him out. Then you will hear the management of uh, Umesh Chaudhary of Titagarh Rail Systems on the brass tracks and all that they are doing within the railway space. So do watch out for this conversation at 12 p.m. Somebody's asked about a query on PFC and REC and why they are volatile. Uh, Okay, let's take that query and then tell you. So Redefine tomorrow is talking about extreme volatility in PFC and REC. Well, one that I think a lot of these stocks were undervalued. And if you look at it, if power as a space is certainly gaining traction, then multiple power companies, yes, but in terms of financiers to this space, there are only two. It's a duopoly, and you can't go beyond that in a meaningful way. The plans are very robust, and therefore the surge in there. When you say volatility, I mean that will be accompanied because of the market forces per se, but a clutch of things happening in this space, and therefore one should be surprised with the fact that they've seen the kind of upsurge that they have. Now, my colleague Agam Vakil will be involved in a conversation with REC today, I think at 10:30 a.m. if I'm not wrong, and therefore I urge you to try and log into that conversation. Vivek Kumar Devangan will quiz him on all things about business. This conversation might help you, so do watch out for that. Signature Global IPO happening later on, and yeah, as I said, Titagarh Rail Systems happening at about 12. There is one more conversation with RailTel a bit later on tomorrow, I think. So that's another conversation that you might want to tune in. No, RailTel is at 1:35 today. Excuse me for that. So that's the other thing. We'll talk about all the railway related things today with Umesh Chaudhary and RailTel. So that's something that you might want to tune in. Very quickly, some other queries before we wrap up. So thoughts on chemical sector. I think that's a query that has come in as well today from Surya. Surya, hi, good morning. Surya, yes, you're right. There is some interest shown. And Surya, if you logged in, I'm not saying you should, but if you had logged into Talking Point in the last 1 month, there are 4 or 5 out of the 15 or 20 conversations that we've done who said that chemicals looks a sector to reckon with because it was completely out of favor. Prices have inched up. Fundamentally, the valuations are not that bad. And from 6 months out, the earnings start coming in. And therefore, people have started looking at it. Mihir Vora on Talking Point spoke about that. I think somebody else spoke about it. And Surya today with Pratik Agarwal as well, I'll invoke specialty chemicals as one of the topics to talk on. So do watch out for that. Uh, View on LNG demand, sorry, I don't have one, to be very honest, Videsh. I'm so sorry. I do not have a informed opinion on LNG demand in India. But frankly, when I look at the con calls of Aegis Logistics and the kind of preparedness that they have, and the know and the view from the JP Morgan analysts on what could happen to LNG demand on LNG imports, it seems that it will continue to be high. So that's one thing. So do watch out for that. Now, thank you for tuning into the trade setup. And we've gone on the shop floor of Titagarh Rail Systems to try and give you a glimpse of what happens in a coach manufacturing facility. I urge you, we've taken a very special effort to go in and do that interview. Do try and tune in for that. As we end trade setup, hear out a slice of that conversation, or actually see a slice of that conversation.
You got to be here to believe the kind of activity that we're seeing at the shop floor of one of the plants of Titagarh Wagons.
Cash flow problem, normally we've seen it happening on the EPC contracts. If you really look at our business model, we do not do any project work, we do supply work. Budget is allocated at the time of the union budget exercise, that there is funding happening from IRFC, bond issuance and all of that. In the last 25, 26 years of our existence, knock on wood, we've not seen payment problems happening, and we hope that it continues.